Okay, so Sunday night, as always, I have to look at my darn calendar. February 8th, right? Oh my God, I'm ridiculous. February 8th. Thank you guys for joining us on the party here. I'm going to mute y'all there. Okay. And of course, this week we have a really special guest. I know I told you guys before that my goal this year is to just continue to line up amazing speakers for the team, including speakers of our own on our own team. But just so happens this month I have some really awesome people lined up. So it's super exciting for me because I know how much I used to gain out of hearing from other people, even though, as we all know, they are the same stories, same content, same, we all learn the same. It's just that when you hear it from different people, sometimes it connects with you a little bit different, depending on, your frame of mind. It's how long you've been in the business. I've heard, I hear some people speak, and I'm sure that they've said the same thing over and over for years, but one particular time that there's just one thing that hits me like between the eyes. It just happened to be because I was in that frame of mind to hear that. So I encourage you to listen to the people that are mentoring you, but I also, keep your ears open for others that are willing to share their stories and help you out. I mean, I've had so many people help me out in my business, and so it's really nice to be able to have those people on this call so that they can share with you what I've learned from them. So tonight I'm going to introduce you, Mindy. I see that you're on here, and I see a little video. Let me make sure your little face is there. There's a lot of people on here. Okay, I see that you're blanked out, but I'm going to give you the intro, and then if you just have to talk for, that's fine. Okay, so Mindy Hord, our special guest this week. First, I want to thank her for joining us on a Sunday night. I know that Sunday nights typically are difficult for people because it's still family. It's still, your rest day. And I know a lot of you guys and a lot of my team who aren't on this call aren't on this call for a good reason, because they are spending Sunday night with their family. For me, I enjoy my weekend with my family. Saturday and Sunday night is team call because I want to get everything ready for the week and have a great week. So I appreciate Mindy jumping on this call on a Sunday night. How I know Mindy, last year we both became elite at the same time, and then we were in the PIO test group together, and I have to tell you, her energy in that PIO test group got me going every single day. Man, she was in there posting her videos. She was, if you take a challenge group and there's that one person that just fires you up to get you off your butt, that was Mindy for me in the PIO test group. She is amazing. If you follow her on social media, she tells it like it is. What I love about her is that she wears her heart on her sleeve, which, as you guys know me, I do it that way, but I'm like a crier. Mindy wears her heart on her sleeve, and it's just so much fun to watch her and what she does. And so she's going to share with us her story, where she came before and how she ended up where she's at now. She's now a 2-time elite coach. I mean, I know exactly how hard that is, because you guys know how hard it is. I've told you. So you have to give her major props for hitting it twice. So without further ado, I want to let Mindy take the stage here. I'm going to find your little face, hopefully. There you are. I see you. Okay, I'm going to pin your video, and you are unmuted. You should be unmuted. Oh, I don't hear you. I see. No, I don't hear you. Let's see. I have you on here twice.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on my laptop.
There you go.
Which one am I on?
Okay, I hear you on one, and I see you on the other. Oh, now I don't see you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm right here.
Okay, wait, where'd you go?
Crap. I'm having issues with I forgot I downloaded the new software.
Yeah.
And shit. Hold on. There's no sound on my desktop.
Don't worry.
On my laptop, I have sound, but you can't see me.
Right.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, exactly. We saw you before without sound. We hear you now.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, I see you, but I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna spotlight you, and then you just take it and run with it, my dear.
Okay.
There we go. All right, you're on. Can you hear me?
I had to think about it today. Ryan told me, my husband, the other day, he was like, you don't remember when you were the one saying like, oh my God, an elite coach, I called. You were so nervous. Now I'm the person here. And I remember how I felt as a coach. And I know I see. One thing I realized is I very proud because
hold on, I gotta stop you for a second. You're coming in and out. We can hardly understand.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, that's better. I don't know, maybe because you're leaning back. I don't know.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, totally.
Okay. So one is that I'm a normal person, and I think that's
You're breaking up.
What you achieve is not anything you achieve or that you deserve. And one thing is that when people look at somebody who is an elite coach and they're just starting off, or maybe they struggled, they don't realize the struggle that got them to where they are. And so my biggest thing is my story and what I share that has led up to me becoming successful and me overcoming a lot of things that held me back for 3 decades. I don't know how much you know about me or if any of you follow me, but it's a long story and it keeps unfolding, so I'll try to keep it brief. But when I became a coach, I was a mom of 3 who went to work right after she dropped all 3 kids off to 3 different schools. I went to work, did my job, picked up my kids, came home. And when I came home, I was not a nice person because I was stressed out. I was tired. I felt like a failure my whole entire life. I had never accomplished anything other than my children. And people always say, well, don't say you didn't accomplish anything. You have kids. Well, my kids were my, biggest treasures. As if you are parents, I'm sure you will agree. But those things just happen sometimes by default. And they weren't necessarily planned out to be great. And that's not what I really wanted to tie my success to, is having children. And a lot is society places so much value on college and, awards and, academics. And I didn't have any of that. And I grew up, and if you have started to follow my story anytime lately, I was adopted, and I didn't have a story like Anna and her girls and her husband. It was a totally different story. And I grew up being teased, being beaten by my father, abused mentally and physically and emotionally, and there was sexual abuse, but it had nothing to do with my dad. But I endured all these things, and I suffered alone. And I, at a very young age, suffered from OCD, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, feelings of unworthiness, and it just catapulted, and it got worse and worse. And I was alone. My parents, I tried to talk to them, and they were just basically like, hey, what's wrong with you? And over and over again, they would say, what's wrong with you? You weren't raised like this, and get over it. You're better than that. And I still hear that today. And if you're anybody who suffers from depression or anxiety, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. So here I am, this one of 5 Asian kids in this small town with parents who were abusive, and they were religious. They were Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was the weird kid that was beating on everyone's doors on Saturday morning. I couldn't date. I couldn't do all the things that most kids were doing. And I felt very out of place. I felt really like a freak. And that messes with your self-esteem. So with that being said, I turned into a very rebellious child, and I pushed the limits because I just was miserable. And I ended up leaving home at 15 in 1997, never went back. And at that point, I was this kid that had all this freedom. And I think that any child's going to definitely test, the boundaries, and there were no boundaries. And I pretty much felt like I threw my whole life away. My whole childhood, anything I did was never good enough. I could get A's, it should be A+, and it was never good enough. And so when I failed, I really took it to heart because, anything I'd ever done was not good enough. And here I am making huge mistakes. And I did know right from wrong. And so I turned into drugs and alcohol and, promiscuity and, just so many things. I couldn't keep a job. I started to go to a junior college in our town. It was a joke. I took a few classes, bailed out. And I didn't have any plans, but I was counting down the days till I was 18. And on my 18th birthday, I found I was pregnant. And, with that, being a teen mom, you can only imagine probably what it was like all alone and, never having any family bond with anybody. And, it would just turn my world upside down. And then I settled into life as a mom. And things were okay. I did what I needed to do, and I took very good care of my daughter, and we spent a lot of time together, and I loved her. But it was not as fulfilling as, I think what I had an ideal, idea in my head what an ideal life would be. And I was kind of stuck. And when she was 2, I just picked up and moved to Texas because I knew somebody here. She could have lived in Kansas or Alaska or New Jersey, and I probably would have moved there. I just wanted to get away. And I thought that everything was going to be better. And it was for a while. You get a new start, new surroundings, new people. But I was still such a broken individual. I didn't know myself. I have, especially recently with everything that I've dug into my adoption and everything, I realized there was so much about myself that I had never been allowed to explore or understand or ask any questions. And I, found another person as soon as I moved to Texas. We had a baby 2 years later, got married, and then the same thing happened. And I'm one of those people who cheated all the time because I had, I guess just feelings of unworthiness, and it was trying to find my place, and I was trying to find that unconditional love. And, when you obviously do things like that, your marriage dissolves. And with my husband now, we've been together for almost 10 years, married 6, we have a son. But as you can imagine, I would make light of it and make jokes of it. But when you have no college background, no family, 3 kids, I was 28, almost 29 years old, and I had 3 kids by 3 different dads, and I was married again. It didn't really bother me because that was my life, but what society thinks. And, when I started a job years ago, the old ladies across the hall were talking about me, and they made sure they told me they didn't believe in divorce. And so, when you hear those thoughts all the time from growing up to as a child and into an adult age, you hear those things, those really eat away at your, self-confidence. And after Rebel, our son, was born, we hit a really bad time in our marriage. And I realize now that it had nothing to do with love. It had nothing to do with not caring about our family. But when you're broken individuals and you have never set a goal, and you are not setting goals together, and you have nothing positive in your life, and you're surrounded by negative people, your life's going to be a mess. And when you hit a bump in the road, you don't know how to fix it, And so we both turned to what was normal for us, alcohol, and you just numb yourself. And so it got to the point where we were both drinking, on the minimum a 12-pack a night, and 1 or 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And it kept getting worse and worse and worse. My husband went to work out of town. He was gone 7 days at a time, home 3 or 4 days. And, I was home raising 3 kids. Well, as you imagine, when you drive 25 minutes home after you picked up, your son, I was getting home to around 6. He was little then, a little over a year, like about 15 months old. He went to bed like at 7:30. So it was a race against the clock. I had 2 kids doing homework, and I was just stressed out. And I love my kids, but I'm like, is this my life? Like, is this my life? And, I ate box meals. I remember buying Hillshire Farm sausage and like pastaroni and cans of corn. That's what we ate all the time, and I'd been so healthy when I was pregnant. I gained 28 pounds, lost 32, looked better than ever when he was, 6 weeks old. And then here, when he was, 12 months old, 15 months old, the weight started creeping up, and I weighed more than I'd ever weighed. And being somebody who was always slender, and this is what people always talk about you have to have this big weight loss story, or you're doomed if you're skinny. It was very difficult for me just because I never had a weight loss, struggle, or big weight loss or a struggle with my weight. And it was difficult. I never knew about proper nutrition. I was an 8-year-old eating like a pound of bacon and gravy. That's what we ate. My grandparents were from the South, never gained a pound. And so then all of a sudden I'm like, what do I do? And when you feel bad about yourself and you have no identity, no life, because when we had Rebel, our life ended. All of our friends ditched us, and my husband was out of town, and I was lonely. And so after the kids went to bed, I would kill a case of beer and get wasted in the garage and stumble in and go to bed, take a NyQuil or something to go to sleep, because I didn't really realize it was so normal, but I just realized what a broken person I was. I didn't like to be alone. And there was a defining moment, I guess, that I remember, certain things. We went on a trip that was put on by my work, and I had 2 outfits, and we were going to be there for 2 days. And I'm like, oh God, are these going to be suitable for both events? And it covered up my midsection, and I still felt uncomfortable. At that time frame, I think it was anxiety and the tension and just unhealthy, habits. But I remember sitting at my desk and like my whole body hurt. Like I was going to the chiropractor every 2 to 4 weeks because my back and my neck hurt. I would fall asleep pretty much at my desk after lunch, and I felt horrible. I could barely get up out of the bed in the morning. I drank 2 pots of coffee a day, and I just was like, what gives? And I remember around January of 2012, I put on a pair of leggings. It's super cold here in Texas. And I looked down when I sat down at my desk, and I had like fat rolls, and I never had that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. So it was like a fate chance happening that I ran across Becky Brosette. She's the Diesel Nation. Her and her sister Christina Delgado are known out of Miami. They're kind of big about the Super Saturdays. And I ran across her on Facebook, and I reached out to a stranger, which was so uncharacteristic of me because I was so private at that point. I didn't tell anybody. I hid from everybody my affairs, any of the problems I had. I didn't talk about my adoption other than I'm just adopted, and answered the questions that always seem to come with that. But, I really kept to myself, and, all my life, my only goal was let's just get through the day without a lot of drama, without a lot of pain. I had no goals. My parents set no goals for me to go to college or get married or anything. And so then my life kept going by, day after day, week after week. And, when I found her on Facebook, it was probably one of the lowest points in my life. Not the lowest, but one of the lowest parts. And, she asked me, if you need any help with health or fitness, let me know. And I was like, oh, no, I don't need anything. Obviously I did, because I'd seen her amazing abs that were brought on by P90X2. But, and I stalked her. I stalked Christina. I stalked her husband. I'm like, well, this family really seems into fitness. And it wasn't that I needed an expert, but I needed somebody that I knew that wasn't going to leave me behind. Because I think we all have seen Plexus and Visalis and all these different people that one day they're, blasting this, and the next week they're onto something else that they swear by, and there's no results. And so I want to make sure. And I had remember seeing P90X on infomercial one night after we came home from the bar years before that. And I remember telling Ryan, I'm like, those people, I'm like, do you think that really works? I'm like, those people that they probably don't have jobs. All they do is work out all day. Yeah, that's us. But, I was like, and he was like, I don't know. He's like, I heard it works. I thought about ordering it. He's like, but nobody ever finishes it. I remember having that in my head. So I reached out to her. Long story short, I bailed on it several times on the order, and she followed up with me. So the thing is, when people don't follow through with you, and this one thing that I tell my team, I'm telling all you, I'm sure some of you have had people who are so excited and they're asking all these questions, and you've kind of gotten their why, that okay, this is that mom who feels like a loser and she can't go to the gym because she lives out in the middle of nowhere. She's got little kids and no family and no husband around to help her at the time. So this is going to be perfect for her. She wants it, and then nothing. And then I've seen it. Coaches get pissed. They get mad. Try to be understanding, and this is where personal development comes in, that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you don't understand in people's head. And when you start engaging in personal development, you start understanding people, you start being more forgiving, you start being more intuitive, you start being more caring for the right reasons, not for Success Club, not for commissions, not to reach your goal of becoming a full-time coach or getting all these, where are we going, cruise dollars. But you really start caring about the person, and you start seeing the signs. But Becky checked up on me, and There was some, I told the story the other day about that a tree had fallen down in January, and my husband had came home and he kept trying to get it taken care of, but it was on his day off after working 18-hour days for 7 days straight. So we had said, the girls and I, we're going to clean this up, and it was freezing outside. I had all the kids out there, and it took us hours. I was so out of shape, and they were little. The picture that I took of them, and I popped up on Time Off that I realized how little they were. And I had already bailed on Becky and gave her an excuse. We went to a baby shower, but I think we all know when we order something, it takes like 2 minutes. I could have actually stopped to order it, but I used the baby shower. So the thing is, when people give you these excuses and they hide, or they say, I don't have time to order because I don't know, whatever it is. And you and I, like I said, both know it doesn't take that long to place an order. Usually, if they've expressed some interest, if they've reached out to you, if you kind of have an idea of their life, it's not that they don't want it. It's not that they don't trust you. It's not that they don't think that Beachbody, products work. If there's something with them. And so when I didn't want to fail, and I didn't know Becky, and I'm not even sure if I had known her well, if that would have changed. And, but she kept on. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm spending all this money on beer and cigarettes. It had nothing to do with the money. I was like, I might as well do this. And I was like, I'm going to do this for 30 days. By 21 days, if I don't see anything, I'm going to call, see what I have to do to return it. I wrote down the number, and in my head, I remember thinking, it was so stupid. I'm like, I'm going to drink this Shakeology, and I'm going to drink it every day. And I'm going to turn that bag back in, empty, and I'm going to get my money back. I'm like, this is going to be like that whey protein that I just drank every day, mixed with orange juice, and never saw any difference. We all know that it has no similarity really to whey protein, except for there is whey protein in some of the Shakeology. And when I got it, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm like, okay, I planned out. I was like, when should be here? I tracked it every day, and then I knew Ryan's schedule, and it was supposed to be here on a Wednesday, and he was supposed to go back to where he worked 2 hours out of town. I got home, and he was supposed to be gone, and I saw that he was still home, and I was like, oh my God, he got this box, and he's probably opened it, which I don't know why he never did. He would just be like, it got packaged. And it happened to be that there was these shelves outside in our garage carport, and I happened to see it. It was sitting up in this little shelf, and I don't know why the postman put it there, but they did. And I opened the door, and I looked, and I saw him mowing lawn outside, and I ran, and I threw it in the hall closet. I mean, I never even told him I bought this. It had nothing to do with our finances. And then I watched him. I was like, okay, well, he's this far on the lawn. So I rip it open, grab the Shakeology. I cannot even remember how I mixed it. I don't know if I used the blender. I don't know if I added anything. And this was back when there was just chocolate and green berry. So it was chocolate. I obviously picked chocolate. And I guzzled it down, and I washed the cup. I remember even what cup I had. And then I was like, I don't even, I said I liked it, but I think I just like gulped it down. And then, he left. I'm like, bye. And then, I started looking at everything, and I did what probably hundreds of your customers did. I can't do this. I was doing back and buys, and I actually got mad at Becky. You said I didn't need a pull-up bar. Well, I didn't read the P90X fitness guide. I didn't open up the thing, because she was like, well, are you doing lean or classic or doubles? And I'm like, what? She was like, check the book. I was like, oh, so I felt like an idiot. So I decided to push play, and she's like, make sure you take your measurements and pictures. And I was like, I don't even know why I took them, because I didn't really think I was going to finish. But then it came down to like, how am I going to take a picture? Nobody's here. So I had to ask my daughter. Haley was 10, a 10-year-old. I'm her mom. She never made fun of me. I was so embarrassed at having her take my picture. If you can imagine what that says about my self-esteem. My own daughter, my 10-year-old daughter. And I told her and Emily, who was 6 and a half at the time, I'm like, please, whatever you do, don't tell Ryan. And they were like, why? Because I'm all very big on like, don't tell secrets, don't hide anything between parents. And I was like, because I want to surprise him. I want to get like, I don't even know what word I used when it was 10-year-old and 6-year-old, but I was like, I'm going to surprise him. Such a lie. Like I was lying to my kids, but I guess, I don't know. I didn't think I would finish it. And I ended up finishing it, but 13 days in, I put on a pair of pants, and my pants, I had dropped pant size. And at that point I had that, that's where the confidence, became, because the thing is, nobody wants to talk about where they are mentally, financially, physically, anything, until you actually can say, this is who I was. Because, when you say that's who you were, it's you, but it's almost as if it's another person, so it's not a big deal when you have a comparison. So I remember snapping a picture in the mirror, the same little teeny mirror I have in the back of the door now. And I posted something, and by the time I dropped all the kids off and got to work, my phone was blowing up, and I did what a lot of people did. I don't know. Ask my coach, Becky. I'm 13 days into this. Well, then she was like, you need to sign up as a coach. And I did what you've probably done or what people have done to you and said, no. I mean, it was like no before anything. And I told her how much it's going to cost. What do I have to do? I don't want to be a salesman. I've been in like network marketing before. Like it was just dumb stuff like candles and stuff years ago in the 90s. And I told her, I'm like, I don't know a lot of people. I don't go a lot of places. I haven't finished the program. I've only been doing this for 13 days. I haven't reached my goals. You know, all these stuff. I mean, like I literally threw it all out her. And she called me on my work line. So we were like talking really quiet. It was the beginning of the work day. And then finally, like everything she said, it was not argumentative, but I literally could not come up with any reason to say no. So when we talk about this epic why, my only why was I couldn't tell her no. I could not come up with any other ways. So her belief in me, it was kind of one of those things. I'm like, well, if you believe in me, I guess I didn't believe in myself. And I just went for it. And then somehow this just changed my life. And, you know, I grew confidence where I could talk about it. I was a horrible salesman. I was one of those icky salesmen. And, you know, she was in the beginning phases of starting her business because we didn't have any upline support. So I was kind of like the missing leg, I think, where her and Christina and I, we all balance each other out. I'm a loud vocal one, and I just go out there and get it. Christina is the public speaker and the, you know, I don't know, the glue, and Becky is the leader, very regimented, and we all just work together, and we've slowly grown our team, and we work together, and it's been the greatest thing that they both recognize me as leaders. They're definitely, Becky's the one who started it. Diesel Nation is co-founded by them, but they've always included me in everything. And that right there, the teamwork, the unity that we had was something that I never had. I've never been praised. I never a day in my life, and still to this day, have my parents ever said, I'm proud of you. Still to this day, I got a hateful text from my mom the other day. I get hateful letters from her all the time. And they never said they're proud of me. They actually bash what I do as a coach. Like, I don't know. They just twist it around some way. So to have these people that were strangers invite me into not their team, but their family, and include me and to recognize me and praise me was amazing. And so I want you to remember that as you're assembling your team, whether you are just Emerald or you've only signed one coach, is that there's people out there who aren't going to tell you all of their junk. You're not going to know about that. They're going to be really guarded, and you don't realize what they're struggling with. And so make sure you go out of your way to praise them. And that's why a lot of coaches are here, because Beachbody is big about recognition. You know, if you're on the National Wake Up Call tomorrow, you'll hear, you know, a couple minutes worth of, you know, all these announcements and achievements and everything. And they became my family. And for me, that's my why, you know, and that's why I always tell people, you don't have to have my cholesterol dropped 80 points. You don't have to have, I've lost 150 pounds, like, you know, Jeremy, who was featured on Team Beachbody page the other day. You don't have to be like a fitness enthusiast. Like Becky, my coach, loves to go in and like get annihilated and get her ass handed to her at every workout. I'm like, that's not me. I hate to work out, and I'm very open about it. I still like my beer, not a case a night. But, you know, my story is that Beachbody gave me a family. And so, you know, my confidence started to build, but I was still that angry person, still very judgmental, and still not a leader. And even though they included me in it, because I didn't see myself that way. So fast forward about 10 months into my, you know, coaching career, I was right at 1 star, I think. I don't even remember. Yeah, 1 star. And that's when I got involved in personal development. I had listened to the Craig Holiday series. I don't know if any of you are like 2-3-year-old coaches, but he used to be, you know, affiliated with us before he left. And there was this like series of like leadership calls. And I listened to it. And he talked about how to start a coach and how to balance out your time. That was great. But I just remember the things that he was saying, that he had these dreams as a kid, you know, because I was this kid who always wanted more and was always curious and asked lots of questions, and it was just squashed out of me. You know, I was called bossy. I wasn't, you know, I mean, as a kid, but I was just curious, and I was like, let's do this. And I was the ringleader, and people didn't like that. And it got squashed out of me. And, you know, he was this kid that told his, you know, mom, I want to be a millionaire. And she's like, oh, Craig, nobody in our family is ever a millionaire. And, you know, how many times have we heard that? you know, from that, oh, so-and-so didn't do it. Oh, okay, you don't do it. And then he started talking about he's had bankruptcies and, you know, all these different careers. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like job here. I've done every job out there. And he was talking about how his teacher was like, you're going to fail. And I mean, I'm just like, when I heard his series up to this point, I mean, he was this amazing speaker with like all this charisma and confidence. And, you know, he was a cop and yeah, a construction company. And I mean, I was like, whoa, he failed. And at that point, it just snapped in my head. Like, whoa, here I was never surrounded by any successful people because my parents are seriously losers. I mean, literally, they are horrible people. They've never accomplished anything. They are not nice people. They're revengeful. They don't get any perspective. They have no friends, so they just stay in this little bubble, no higher education, and they are, you know, they have made themselves losers. I don't think that everybody's losers, but they just stayed here and had no growth. And I was raised by these people. I was never around any other adopted kids, any successful people. They never let me have friends. So I just always thought, when I watched on TV, when I heard all these stories, and then as, you know, I became an adult on my own, all these people like, oh, they were born like this, or they have some, you know, gift that they were born with. I didn't realize that you had to work for it. And so the thing is, like, some people probably, your career minded probably think, well, why would you think that? But if you weren't around any successful people, you just come up with your own assumptions. And so it clicked. I'm like, oh, failure doesn't disqualify me from changing who I am, because I just had begun to settle. I knew I didn't like the life that I had. I knew I wanted more. I didn't know what I wanted because nobody had ever told me the things to want. And then that's when it all changed. Then I was like, I can't do this. And then at the end of the year, I decided to, you know, go set a goal for being a full-time coach by my 2-year anniversary, which would have been February 15th, 2014. It still seemed very far off, but I wrote it down. I still have the paper. But then I stopped doing the personal development, you know, after I listened to the Craig Holiday series, and I bought another Rhino Renegade, but then things got real busy. We had the cup, and it was like an 8-week cup then. Well, then I went to Danny Johnson. I only went basically to stalk the person in our upline, Jason Diebold, who had told Becky, hey, Mindy was your rock star. Didn't even know him, but she's like, you know, you need to work with her. And that's when he was talking about Danny Johnson. Danny Johnson, get the book. I bought the book, sat on my shelf. I'm sure a lot of you have bought books that somebody said on the National Wake Up Call, or Anna said something, or Michael Ryan, or somebody said something about a book, and it just sat there. Well, then he said he was going to Dallas. And I was like, I want to get next to this guy. You know, I'm like, I want to, you know, he changed everything for Becky and Christina when they met in Atlantis in March of 2012. And so I was like, I want to be near him. I'm like, okay, that's a 4-hour drive. So I left after work and drove to Dallas all by myself. Lost my phone when I was there, slept on the floor in a hotel room with like 2 coaches and like a bunch of other people that we just found a room. And he took me under his wing along with Caroline Van Zandt, Heather Dixon, Tommy Migrant. And that's when everything changed. Jason talked to me about my goals. He invested his time in me. I am in his downline, but he didn't have to. And I haven't been shown a lot of kindness my whole entire life. So this was huge. He was so kind, so patient with me. And I'm like, oh my God, you were like the top coach in 2010. And he's like super smart, like nerd smart. And I mean, he sat there and he was kind to me. And they took me everywhere they went. Like, I mean, in dinner, lunch. And I mean, and they were so nice to me. And so I went to the seminar. I hung out with them Friday night. I went to this seminar. I didn't even know what the seminar was about. It's like First Steps to Wealth, First Steps to Success is like the book in the seminar. So I'm thinking it was like money mastermind thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm always going to be poor. I went, and this was like the major aha moment. I sat there next to Caroline and Heather, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I couldn't stop crying, like ugly cry, like horrible cry. And that's when everything changed, because here she was telling, you know, Craig Holiday had failures and people who looked down on him and didn't believe in him, but like Danny Johnson had abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. And I'm like, that's me. Made horrible mistakes once she got older, had, you know, child out of wedlock young. I'm like, this woman's beautiful. And she's like prancing across the stage and she's got this like commanding voice. And I'm like, I want to be you, you know, as soon as I saw her. And then I heard her story. And then I was like, okay, so that's 2 people who are like totally screwed up and had like all these things that I always thought meant that you were just stuck being here and never could do anything. And then that's when everything changed. And she talked about forgiveness. she talked about not judging people, that when you judge people, it holds you back, because when you talk bad about people, even if you never verbalize it, it's in your head, and you naturally don't want to do anything because you think everybody else is going to do that. And maybe people are. No, people do talk. But whenever you just don't care because you know that you're looking deeper, like I encourage you, is that when somebody says no or they blow you off, to not take it personally, actually become more invested in that person because something's going on there. And she talked about forgiveness. And at that point, I started to forgive my parents. Haven't talked to them since, 2008, even after that point. But I realized that this bitterness was affecting me. It was affecting my children. It was affecting my marriage. It was affecting my decisions. It was affecting everything because I was letting it consume me. And so I set out for the whole year 2013 to be nothing but forgiveness. That was my theme. You know how Beachbody was like dream big, never give up, and not everyone matters. That was Mindy's theme, was forgiveness. And I will tell you, it was the most freeing thing in the whole entire world. And I became so absorbed in personal development. And I shared everything, every step of the way with people. If you go to my page the last 2 weeks, I've shared a lot about my adoption, because something there somebody else is struggling with. Whether they don't have to be adopted, they don't have to be Asian, but they could have been abandoned by an ex, by a parent, through a divorce, all these things. And everything I do, I attribute it to Becky. I attribute it to Beachbody. I attribute it to all of you, because you're here supporting me. And because I'm helping somebody. Because what I'm telling you now, you may not care about, it may not resonate with you because you have no relatable stories. Oh, somebody else is adopted. See, more and more people. But even if I'm telling you this and 3 months from now you talk to somebody and you really take an interest in them and you find out what their holdup is, why they have low self-esteem, why they have had, a history of self-sabotage, where they have bad eating habits or drug or alcohol habits that do all these things that make them where they're saying like, I'm ready to do something, and they're adopted and that has something to do with it. You can understand. So like through personal development, encouraged by Beachbody, I have grown, and it's gotten to the point where my mental capacity is able to withstand these things. I've become stronger emotionally where I can withstand these things. And I mean, I'll tell you, the last couple of weeks it's knocked me off my feet, but I've been able to get back up and I've been able to share it with people. And when I talk about it, I heal. And then when I help other people, I am healing myself. And it's turned into this. I have a huge following. I have people who watch like 45-minute videos. I don't. I mean, I wouldn't do that. But they're so invested in me because I share my story, because I'm not scared anymore, because at the end, I've grown. I have had major aha moments. I've helped so many people. Like in November, I found out that somebody told me that they were going to kill themselves. And I was just always talking to them. And I was always being kind to them. And they would always be like, I cuss all the time, so excuse me, but she was always like, I don't understand why you like me. You're Mindy fucking Hord. Like, I'm just me. And I'm like, I'm not any different. Like, just because I'm elite, just because I have made all these changes, I put my pants on one leg at a time. I do the same things. I encounter the same things. And I'm like, if I did it, you can. But she told me after the fact that I'd reached out to her again because she is my friend and I see her that way, that she didn't take her life. I mean, these are the things that we have that power. And I wouldn't have been in her life if I wasn't part of Beachbody. And so, I share everything because there's people out there watching us that maybe don't want 21 Day Fix. Maybe can't afford Shakeology, but they're watching us. And, when you present yourself that way, they see the positive changes, and I attribute it to Beachbody. And I tie everything into it. I did my last video about, joining these Korean adoptee groups, which why I did it is because Carl talks about it, everybody talks about, keep your, connecting to people like you. And I'm like, well, I mean, everybody knows, how I am. Like, how do I find more people? And then I was like, I'm going to do this, like, adoptive people trying to find their parents. And, then it led me to somebody, and I'm part of all of these Korean adoptee groups now, and I'm realizing now that I'm not like a total freak, that I'm like, there's people out there like me, and it's been so soothing, but it's just mind-boggling. It's crazy. But I shared in my video that the power of support groups, and I talked about challenge groups. I talked about that I wouldn't have reached out to these people if it weren't for Beachbody. I wouldn't be able to like handle this because my parents never approved of me talking about it or encouraged me to find anything about my roots or heritage. They made fun of me about being depressed. And I have the support of these people that I tell, and they are cheering me on. And I tie it on to Beachbody because literally, if it weren't for Beachbody, I wouldn't be here. And then now, like, people are asking me questions, people in the Canadian adoptee groups, other coaches, my challengers, you know, and I thank my team that thank you. Like I told them that, thank you for letting me help you, because I wouldn't be here if you didn't let me help you. And so that's like my story. And my story, a lot of you probably think your story is really boring. And it's probably boring to you because you look at yourself every day and you're living this life every day. But someone out there is going to think your life is interesting because they've been looking at just their life every day. And somebody out there is struggling with whatever it is that you're struggling with, and they just wants to not feel like a freak like I did. And, you know, I've opened up about my depression over the last couple months, which I think was leading up to everything that I've been dealing with now, and it's all clicking. But it was hard for me to talk about depression because my parents didn't approve of it because they didn't think it was real. They thought I was faking it. But you would be surprised at all the people that were posting on my thread. They were opening up with stuff that they've never told anybody because it was like they had a voice. They had somebody saying, it's okay, you're safe here. It's okay. Even though it was public, anybody could read it. And so the thing is, like, stop hiding behind these things and really selfishly thinking that you're the only one dealing with this, because you're really only harming yourself. You're not allowing yourself to get a perspective from anybody else. You're not allowing yourself to heal. And then if you're scared to share things about yourself, look at it in a way that I want to help somebody. Who am I going to help? And then just stick your foot out there, you know, a little bit out of your comfort zone one at a time, because if you add getting involved with your team, attending live events, doing the 3 vital behaviors, especially personal development, and realizing that it's selfish to withhold your thoughts, your journey, your feelings, your struggles. And if you realize you don't have to be perfect in this business to help people, and honestly, the less perfect you are, the more people will relate, and the more people will reach out to you, the more people will trust you, the more people will be open and honest to you, which means you can help them more when you know something about them. And when you treat everybody like your best friend, you treat them with respect, with caring and kindness and thoughtfulness, then you will be surprised in 6 months, a year, how much you grow and how much that boring story all of a sudden became very interesting because there was things about you that you never realized were absolutely spectacular. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, I gotta unmute myself. That's all you have to say? Oh my gosh, let me tell you, I am so blessed that you shared that on this call, because I think everybody that's on this call is lucky that they're on this call, because this is not like any other team call. I mean, we all talk about content and this and what do I post on social media. You just shared what probably 90% of the people on this call, 95, 99% of the people on this call are thinking every day. Like, I don't think my story is all that exciting, so why do people want to hear it from me? But I loved. I know part of your story, and I followed your story, but turning it around and really, like, Beachbody has helped you become who you are. When we take out that whole, like, I'm trying to build a business and sell challenge packs, and when in fact it's really making a huge difference in our lives, just, you know, confidence. And I know for me it's confidence, and, you know, I was always really incredibly shy, and that's what Beachbody's given me, this voice that I never even thought I had. Like, the only reason I have it is because people told me I have it, you know. But we never talk about those things, I think, on these calls. So I think it was so incredibly powerful, and I appreciate you sharing. I mean, it's hard to share too, you know, but again, I think that the reason you share is because you know how valuable it is and how helpful it is to other people, and that just brings you joy. So I think, thank you so much.
The biggest thing I want to tell everybody too, I guess one last thing, is that so many people, when we tell coaches, share your story, people are like, well, I don't have like a Richard Neal story. I don't have, you know, a story like so-and-so. Remember, this is your story of your why and why you're still here for Beachbody can be a mental transformation, a health transformation, a weight loss, a fitness, overcoming, like Michael Ryan, he had the whole arm thing that he had, and then he did the, 21-day fix extreme or no, insanity, whatever test group he was in. And he started over. That your story doesn't end. It keeps going, and everybody's different. So I think people get this block about how they're going to share their story and what their why is, because they're thinking that it's not it's not as good enough as this. Yeah. And I'm like, you have to think outside the box, and, really everything that I'm doing, I'm sharing with people, because and this is the same thing about social media. You have to bring value. Like, I'm going to do a video tomorrow about how I am seeing I've said, like, oh my God, me too, like a million times in these like Korean adoptee groups, because I relate, and I see that in the challenge groups where people have suffered silently, with combating the scale, eating disorders, and all of a sudden they're in these groups and they understand, and the biggest thing is just that, I have been able to help other people, because somebody said, Anna, I've adopted kids, and I want to make sure that I can do the best thing for them to make sure that they don't ever go through what all of you are going through. What are your tips? And so I gave her like 6 or 7 tips based on my experience, and I threw in the color code. I hope y'all know what the color code is. And then I was like, I'll send you this information. And then she's like, I never thought about that. That's so great. So the thing is, I've helped her totally non-fitness related, but she trusts me, she appreciates me, and we have connected. That's all invite is. When you get that in your head, and when you really want to provide value to somebody that doesn't come in a box of discs or a bag of shake, then you have mastered being a friend and inviting. And if you do that with a person every day, she may never buy a challenge back, or she may 2 years from now. But like, if you keep doing that, you're going to heal, you're going to help people, you're going to be a good person. And then when you help people, you feel awesome. So, I guess that's the last thing, is just create value and connect with people and help them as much as you can.
Right. With no agenda, just the fact that you want to help, because it makes you feel good. It helps them. They feel good, and everybody wins, no matter if there is a payment made or not. Because, and what I actually one more thing I wanted to bring back into, when you brought up the fact that that Becky contacted you and was like, okay, and then check back in with you. Okay. I think we forget that. We forget that there are other things that are going on in people's lives. And I mean, I know that just because I've been around for a long time. So Craig Holiday, all that stuff, I know. And the more you've been around a long time, you know that. But in the beginning, you don't realize that there are things going on in people's lives that you have to just let it go and then come back, and let it go and then come back, because they really do need you, even though they're hiding from you, or they're afraid to talk to you because they're embarrassed that they didn't open the box or whatever. So I think that by you bringing that up, I think it's really important, because I think we forget that very quickly, to follow up on those people that, disappeared, without being mad at them because they disappeared on you and you were in the middle of a conversation. There's something going on. We forget about that. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because you're a perfect example of that.
Well, and a lot of people they're like, I don't like to be pushy, I don't like to follow up. Well, then you're not following the 5-step invitation process that Tommy Bygrant has an amazing video on, because he sets it up exactly where you don't have to be that pushy person. That's why I tell people, well, you're not following the 5-step invitation process, you're reinventing the wheel. And you're making it on yourself.
It's true, but then the other thing is you're not really being a friend either. Like, we don't want to be salespeople, we want to be people's friends. So by avoiding them, that's not really being a friend. Check in with them. How's it going? That's really being a friend. And that's where you take the sales out of it completely. So, yay, thank you. Do you have just a few minutes if anybody has any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Let's see. I'm gonna unmute. There's quite a few people on here. I'm gonna unmute. Anybody have any questions? Step real quick. Nobody likes to chat here. Okay, I'm gonna mute you guys. If you have a question, pop up in the chat. I don't think so. Usually they get their questions up pretty quickly. Whoops. Let me put you back. Hold on. Whoops. I muted you.
Can I go?
You're back on. Yep.
I am almost maxed out on friends, and like some coaches get upset. So if you friend requested me, can you unfriend request me and just follow me, because I try to leave those last spaces open for my non-coaches. But and if you have the follow option, I'll follow you back. If you're a coach, you really should have it public and the follow option anyways. So if you don't, you should do that, because that will help your business. And my thing is, I saw some of you, I just noticed on there about the confidence thing, is that, in 2013, my motto, because the thing is, like, you have to know what you're going for. You're not just here like, I'm going to sell whatever challenge pack's on sale. It's whatever you're going for. 2013 was about forgiveness, that I teach forgiveness, and I share with people who I'm forgiving, why I'm forgiving it, how it's helping me, and how it can help them, and how Beachbody helped me do that. 2014 was all about recreating my relationships with my kids and making sure that nobody got left behind or felt alone. This year, my goal and my theme for Mindy Hord is to help people create confidence and help them not just tell them these are your 3 positive things about yourself, but help them come up with how to find the 3 positive things about themselves when they say something negative, because that negative, thought process comes in, and it's to help coaches, because I want to help coaches. I help people figure out how to combat those things. So that's my theme this year. So if you have any of those issues about self-confidence, about negative self-talk, about failure holding you back, I have a huge series of, like, a lot of my recent videos on YouTube are that. So you can subscribe to me, that kind of thing. It's like personal development. I mean, really, if you don't like personal development reading, listening to stuff like that is basically personal development. So if if that's a topic you need, then plug into that. I've been reading The Power of Nice, which is from Linda Thaler Kaplan. It's Thaler, and it's Kaplan. Seriously, the book is like this little. I have ADD. Perfect book. It will enhance every part of your life and your mindset, and it will help you in your work, with people you meet, your team, your kid, your husband, your wife, whatever. And I suggest sending that to all of your new coaches, because it's an easy read and it will actually make their life better on a whole. So it's not just like, oh, read GoPro so you can be a good network marketer. Do something where it actually enhances and adds value to their whole life, and you onboard them with a welcome, basket. How did I overcome the fear of rejection? Just getting out there and doing it over and over and over and over again, and stop judging and not worrying about it. And there is actually, I did a video like a couple days ago about overcoming objections, which, that has basically a lot to do with rejection. And yes, my brand keeps changing. My story keeps changing. Like, we are the couple that likes to go to strip clubs. Everybody knows us for that. My husband was like big into chickens. Like, I would have chickens running behind there. So people were posting things with chickens. He built me this office out of a storage container. It was a reefer container that on 18-wheelers where things were frozen. So now everybody's posting pictures of that. My son has a mohawk. Everybody does that. I am literally I share my life like a reality show. I share every facet, because the thing is, if you scroll through your newsfeed, people's stuff is really boring. Like, seriously, people's things are really boring. It's like 5 weeks ago, they shared a picture of their kid. Oh, another kid's 4 months old. And people complain all the time. So I'm like, there's always something funny. There's always something about my kids. There's always something really profound or something really deep about me, so they get to know me. Because remember, people need to trust you to come to you.
Yeah.
And if you like, what I'm trying to get all of my team, everybody I talk to understand that when you don't tell anybody about your life because you're private and your page is like locked up like Fort Knox, then you're basically saying, I'm not going to let you in. Well, why are these people going to open up to you about these deep, dark things that are holding them back? If you are basically saying, I'm not going to trust you or let you get close to me, why on earth would anybody want you to be their coach? And how could you effectively help them when they say, oh, I can't get motivated? And you're like, what's wrong with you? Well, underneath that is something is going on. Depression, anxiety, fear of failure, whatever. So the thing is, you have to get close to people. You can't get close to them if they're not going to let you, but you just have to be this open book. And I mean, like, if you scroll through my newsfeed for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, you'll be just shocked at the weird stuff that I share. Share the stupidest stuff. Like, your life is not stupid. What you think is stupid, it's really not stupid. And even if it's commonplace, somebody else out there is going to do that, and it does, I don't know, just you relate to them. Today, I asked a question for moms about stuff that I'm just trying to understand, because I never knew anybody who had babies except for myself, and I'm seeing all these similarities between some adoptees who had bad lives, and I'm trying to make sense because I had postpartum depression and all these different things. And I asked a question. I got 177 responses right before I got on this call. Seriously, something totally insignificant. Now I'm saying, don't copy and paste what I said and post it on your wall and be like, where's my 177 comments? Because some people say that. But you have to build a following. You have to get it where people are going to open up to you. Like I told people, if you don't feel comfortable talking about this, you can send me a private message. Only 3 people private messaged me. The rest of them felt open and honest because they know, like my Christina Delgado calls me the coach whisperer, because they know that they're safe with me. You know, I'm not going to tell them that they're a screw up. I'm not going to lecture them. I'm going to help them come to the conclusion, because everybody knows what right and wrong is. And I help them come to the conclusion without making them feel worse. Because trust me, people feel bad about themselves all the time. And I'm pretty sure all of you probably look in the mirror sometimes and say, like, God, you look horrible, or what are you thinking? So if you do that to yourself, everybody else does. So just be friends. And, you know, oh, my thing, that's my it's Team Relentless. It's sugar skulls. Do you see that?
That's cool.
I had it designed. And my husband had it made for me. He made this office for me for Christmas. I didn't even know it was mine.
I mean, I have a nice office, but I don't have my team knows I'm like boring when it comes to logos, and I have like no creativity, but I have a nice office. So.
I had it designed, and he made this office. I have like zero creativity.
It's cool though. Totally cool. Okay, so it's 7:28. We're gonna we have to take a screenshot. Okay, you cool with that?
Yeah.
I'm
a big selfie whore.
Yeah, no. Well, you know, that's how we all are, right? Okay, let me see. I gotta expand this because we've extended our we're gonna have to take 2, guys, because we've gone to 2 pages here. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, I'm going to the second page. Okay, 1, 2, 3, cheese. All right, awesome.
Thank you, guys.
That's the fun part of the call, is our screen. See how big our screenshots get.
I didn't realize that there was 2 pages of people either.
Yeah, this is the Sunday night party. We have a lot of fun Sunday nights here.
Awesome.
So that's why I keep these as Zoom calls, not Google Hangout calls, even though the numbers get so big, because the screenshot at the end. It's way more fun to see everybody's face anyways. So have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to being on your call this week.
Oh, yes. Another thing is, any call that I have for Team Relentless, my way of paying it forward, because I can't mentor everybody, but I try to pay it forward because Jason and Caroline and everybody was so nice to me. So all of my team calls are always open. They're always Wednesday at 8:30 Central Standard Time. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's always it will say now there's a 2 day or 3 days before the call, but you can always watch the recording.
I'll share it in the page because I'll be on that one Wednesday night. So I appreciate you sharing that with them, and I'm sure that my team will be all over your YouTube page now. Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.